When we come to the use of the participle, with it we come to the first of what is called a non-finite verb form. The three conjugations we have previously covered, the perfect, imperfect, and volative conjugations, were all what are called finite verbs. Finite verbs have a clear subject, whether it is explicitly stated or implied by the verbal form, and they form the core of an independent clause. These forms, finite verb forms, are marked for either tense or aspect. Participles, on the other hand, represent the first of two verb forms which we call non-finite, forms which are not marked for either a tense or aspectual purpose. The participle, which should be no surprise given that it has elements of both verb and noun/adjective, can be used in three major non-finite ways, and these three ways correspond to the three uses of the adjective we discussed in Chapter 2, Section 7. If necessary, you may want to review that section before moving forward. First, there is the attributive use. When used attributively, the participle is acting like an adjective and modifying a noun. Like an adjective, then, an attributive participle will follow a noun and agree with that noun in gender, number, and definiteness. For instance, from 1 Samuel 17:26, ha-anashim, ha-omadim. The men, definite article plus anashim. Note that the article has the vowel comets because aleph cannot double and we have compensatory lengthening. The men, ha-omadim. You have the definite article he on the cal active participle, masculine plural of the root amad, which indicates and glosses as standing. Note again you have had compensatory lengthening of the vowel under the definite article because the ayin cannot double. And the attributive use here, omadim, is giving us an attribute of the men. Which men? The ones who were standing. Typically, the translation into English of an attributive participle will use the pronoun who. You could instead use the ing ending, although it depends on your English style whether that really works. For instance, we could say the standing men, and in some contexts of English that would be okay. Most commonly, though, we'd say the men who were standing. Because the participle is a non-finite verb form, it does not tell us the tense of the English translation, whether it is a past standing, a present standing, or a future standing. Outside of its context, ha-anashim, ha-omadim could be the men who were standing, the men who are standing, or the men who will be standing. It's only the surrounding context of the phrase that lets us know we should translate in an English past tense. Secondly, we have the predicative use of the participle, corresponding to the predicate use of an adjective. When used predicatively, the participle's verbal sense is more evident. Just like a predicate adjective, a predicate participle will agree with the noun that it uses and addresses in gender and number, but it does not agree with the noun in definiteness, since a predicate adjective cannot take a definite article. And the verbal sense of a predicative participle is usually that of either a continuous action or an imminent action. Again, because this is a non-finite form, its time sense and translation is not indicated by the participle form, and the time sense must be inferred from the surrounding context. When the context is that of a past or present action, most often the continuous nature of the participle is in view. Consider Genesis 14:12, Vahu Yoshev Bisdom. Vav, which you know is the connector, and who, which you know from section 1, is he, the independent personal pronoun. Yoshev is the Cal active participle, masculine singular, of the verb yashav, to dwell. So, and he, continuous action, was dwelling, prefixed bait in, and then the noun Sodom, Sodom. Likewise, Genesis 38:13, Ole Timnatah. This ole is a Cal participle masculine singular, Cal active participle masculine singular, of the verb Allah, hence the hey ending. The vowel change is because this form ends in a hey, and this will be covered in a later chapter of the book. Cal participle active masculine singular, ole, he is going. And then the noun is Timnah. What then is the extra ah on the end? This is the directional hey. He is going to Timnah. On the other hand, when the surrounding context gives a future time sense, a predicate participle will often indicate an imminent action, an action about to occur. 1 Kings 2:2, Anoki holek. Anoki, which we know from section 1 of this chapter, the independent personal pronoun I, holek, Cal active participle masculine singular of our good friend halak, go. So in context, I am about to go, an imminent verbal action. Or Deuteronomy 2:4, atem overim. Atem, the pronoun you, masculine plural, you overim, Cal participle, active masculine plural, of avar, to pass through or pass over. You are about to pass through. Thirdly, and again corresponding to the uses of the adjective, we have the substantive use. When used substantively, a participle is serving a nominal function, just as any adjective used substantively is doing. Ha-no-geya is a Cal participle, active, masculine singular, from the verb naga, to touch. The hey on the front is the definite article, the one who touches. Note that the definite article has caused ha and the doubling of the noon. Or Leviticus 15:6, ha-yoshev. Yoshev is the Cal active participle masculine singular of yashav. And then the hey on the front is again the definite article, causing the doubling of the yod, the one who sits. In relatively late texts, texts that are understood to have been written later in time, it is often the case that the participle will function as a substitute for a finite verb. For example, from Ecclesiastes 1:4, we have dor holek v'dor ba, v'ha'aretz le'olam omadet. Consider holek. You should be able from your memory paradigms to parse this as a Cal active participle, masculine singular, of halak. It agrees with a generation, dor, but if you look at the function in Ecclesiastes, it's really functioning as a finite verb. A generation comes.